All right, well, I think we are going to get started. So good morning. Welcome to the Printing Industry Midwest and our PIM SmartCafe, Power Your Business for Less with Commercial Solar. We appreciate your being here today to learn more about solar. We are thankful that New Energy Equity is here today to talk solar and how this really can have a huge impact on your business, as well as being more sustainable. Our speakers are Steve Oman and Krisy Wogen, both from New Energy Equity. We are proud to say they are also members of PIM. During the webinar today, all guests will be muted. If you do have questions, please feel free to use your Q&A, and questions will be answered during the Smart Cafe or will be handled at the end of the presentation. The Smart Cafe will be recorded and will be sent to all of you later in the week. Now I would like to introduce Paul Gakowski. He's PIM's Director of Safety and Environmental. He will be talking a little bit about the Great Green Printer Program, and we'll kick it off to Steve and Krisy. Thanks, Paul.
All right, thank you, Chris. So I'm on staff at PIM, and part of this event, because it connects perfectly with printers that want to save money and do something good for the environment. And that's what the whole focus of the PIM Great Green Printer Program is. That's been in existence since the late 1990s. So if you're a company that's already part of that program, this event will provide you with a way to meet some of those requirements to stay in that program. Now, if you have no idea what this program is to certify companies as green and sustainable, just go to our PIM website and click on Environment and Safety. And there you'll find out how to get information about the program and who's certified. Contact me or Kathy Melanowski. Both of us handle environmental and safety issues and this program with questions about this great printer program and with any safety and environmental question. Kathy and I have over 60 years experience in this environmental and safety area. So now let's turn the program right on over to our presenters for today, Krisy and Steve.
Thanks so much for having us. I think now is an all right time. Can I switch over to our presentation if that's all right?
Yes.
All right, Steve, how about you take it away with the introduction of yourself and I'll get this all set up.
Good morning, everybody. My name is Steve Oman. I'm 6 years with New Energy Equity, responsible for commercial solar development across a number of target industries, including printing, self-storage, multifamily, and large industrial REITs, and appreciate the opportunity to share some educational information on how solar can work for the printing industry.
And I'm Krisy Wogen. I am Steve's colleague. I focus on commercial and industrial rooftop solar, and I've been with New Energy Equity for just over 2.5 years. And thought it'd be important to show our involvement in PIM over the last years, or the last year at least. Some photos on the screen of us at the Amplified Print Conference, as well as the PIM annual golf outing. The really fun events, and maybe you remember us from there.
The longest drive contest.
Oh yeah. I thought it'd be important, as you see in some of our photos, where it says IPS or Impact Power Solutions. Just in the last month, we have transitioned from Impact Power Solutions to New Energy Equity. And New Energy Equity is a solar developer and financier. So we've been in business for over 30 years now, helping companies evaluate rooftop solar, ground mount solar, helping to develop community solar gardens, both here in Minnesota and in various countries, or various states across the country. What else would you like to add about New Energy Equity?
We'll be going out for the big holiday party on December 9th, and it's been a pleasure working with a company that has much greater reach and able to touch and help companies on a more national basis.
Absolutely. So without going into too much detail about what our company is, I thought it would be more helpful to see some of our our clients. And I guess this is a very casual conversation here, so we would welcome questions throughout the entire presentation. Just put them in the chat, and then we'll be able to answer those questions as we go, instead of saving them all till the end. But like Steve had shared, we both work with commercial and industrial clients, helping to evaluate rooftop solar, taking a look at what can fit on the rooftop, and taking a look at the financial impact as well as the environmental impact. And we'll talk through some of the specific client projects that we have, just to give you a better background of how that looks. You want to talk about how solar works?
Absolutely. So one of the questions I get asked most is, gee, if we put solar up on the roof and the power from Excel goes down, am I still able to run my building on solar? Answer, unfortunately, to that is no. And the reason is that the inverters for the solar array, which convert DC power from the modules to AC power, are synchronized to the grid. So if the power goes down, the solar array goes down, and then it comes back up when the power comes back up. So storage would allow you to run on solar power, but that's quite a step forward, and so most people choose not to do that. The other thing that I think is really important when you look at this, if you look at the power that comes from the solar array, it offsets what you would normally be purchasing from Xcel Energy. If the solar array, for some reason, 4th of July, Sunday afternoon, the plant's not running, is overproducing, that power actually goes back to the grid. And because of net metering in Minnesota, you would receive retail rate for that power. If you look at that bi-directional meter in the middle, digitally, it might actually be spinning backwards. But the good news is that no matter whether the power goes into the building or is exported, you receive retail compensation. And I think the other thing, for those of you that looked at your power bills over the last year, Xcel has increased rates probably by 15% plus, which means that the value of every kilowatt hour of solar energy produced is now worth 15% more to you than it was. With the 30% incentive tax credit now part of the Inflation Reduction Act, you have an opportunity from a financial standpoint to actually improve your payback as compared to what it was just a couple of years ago. And for people who look at both financials and solar being the right thing to do, it's a great time to do it.
We're definitely going to touch on the financials of solar projects, as well as the increasing energy rates and the upcoming slides here in a little more detail. But I think it's just from this slide, it's important to note that the sun, you're going to capture the energy from the sun. It's going to transition it from DC to AC. It's either going to go directly into your facility or back to the utility. And then at any point in time when the solar isn't producing, then you draw that energy from the utility. But without going through all of our projects, I just thought it would be fun to touch on a couple of projects. You'll start to notice as I flip through some of that we're looking at large flat rooftops that have a decent amount of open utilized space. It's just with maybe some RTUs on it. So why not utilize it to produce your own energy? Is there anything specific on extra storage that you'd like to touch on?
Just from a personal note, this is the first project that I was able to close when I started with New Energy Equity 6 years ago. It's 2 miles from my house. So I drive by it about 10 times a day, and it's got a big sign on it that says powered by the sun, and 100,000 cars a day drive by this extra space storage facility, and hopefully that will lead to other opportunities.
Great. Target is a great client of ours. We have done multiple projects for them here locally in Minnesota, as well as in Florida and other states. You'll notice that, Target has some substantial sustainability initiatives. And so you'll see a lot of solar going up, whether that be on their retail locations, as well as carports. to cover some of their lots in the warmer states.
So quick note here, Target does solar on a national basis. They're one of the largest installers of solar, both by number of sites and total megawatts of solar. Sometimes people ask, is Minnesota a great state to do solar? These are all Minnesota buildings, and Target finds them to be just as attractive to do here as in Florida, Arizona, California, and some of the other perceived more sunny states.
Continuing on, just to give you some ideas of the size of projects that we do. Looking at these rooftops, I mean, again, they're pretty decent size, flat, open rooftops. We also do ground mount arrays if your facility has room for or on the ground. This has some high visibility for clients and customers. But if you don't have that space and you do have a large flat roof, you know, photography and drone footage and marketing materials can be generated very easily from your rooftop array. The last two here I'll show you are some other commercial printing projects here. Myers Printing started off with an M size solar array for their rooftop just last year that was energized. And then before that, Vamela Company's commercial printer in St. Paul did a very substantial rooftop array. Now, there's a couple things I wanted to point out on this. Is the size of the array. So within Excel Energy, this is the max size array that they allow for their clients to put on their rooftop or to interconnect their grid. This solar array offsets about 30% of their annual energy usage, and then the rest of that comes from the grid. As for why Vamela decided to go solar, was for many reasons, for the financial savings and the environmental impact. But it also helped retain one of their largest clients who was looking for a more sustainable printer that would go hand in hand with what Paul was talking about for the great printer program. But having more sustainability and sustainable practices to show for their clients so they could gain more work from them and get more business.
Krisy made a great point. This was a new construction facility. The array on the roof has an expected life of 25 years plus. So putting a solar array on a brand new building with a brand new roof, absolutely the ideal way to go.
So talking about new roofs, if you have a new roof or a really old roof that's soon to be replaced, it is the perfect time to consider solar. So it's not even required to drill into your rooftops anymore. Majority of our systems are going to be a ballasted system. So you'll see here that there is a little racking system underneath the panel. It's kind of like a little basket. The panel sits at a 10-degree angle, and then you'll see these ballast blocks that are weighting down the solar panels and the whole system. That is going to be wind tested to withstand up to 100-mile-an-hour winds. And so you don't have to worry about anything blowing off the top of your roof, and you don't have to worry about having any holes in your rooftop. We work with the roofing manufacturer to ensure that the warranty is retained. And this is going to really help to keep your roof healthy longer.
One thing that's kind of fun is when I started, the modules that were being used were 290, 300 watts. 6 years later, as we looked at what we're going to be installing in 2023, 2024, especially large utility scale, 580 watts. So literally the output of the modules, they've also gotten bigger, has doubled in just 6 years.
It's exciting to see the technology evolve. So now we can produce more energy in a smaller square foot of space than we used to 2, 3, 4, 10, 30 years ago. So Steve touched on this a little bit before, but I'll hand it back over to you to discuss a little further.
So a few years ago, when there really was kind of no inflation, people looked at their energy bills and in terms of what do they expect to be paying in the future. Typically, their estimates were pretty conservative for rate escalation. That has really changed. And especially with this January 1st, 2022 increase and the increase in natural gas and other fossil fuel prices, the value of the solar produced on your roof has gone up by over 10% in just the last year. And as people look at solar as a potential, we'll call it utility cost hedge, it is becoming more and more a topic of conversation in terms of how can I mitigate my ongoing operating costs, which for printing companies and companies that use a lot of electricity is a major operating expense.
And solar is really the most predictable way to safeguard your business from those future rate hikes. So when we put together a cash flow and show you the financials of a project, we typically take a very, very conservative rate of energy increase over the years. And so the more that your utility, or the higher that they increase their prices, the more valuable your solar becomes. So it's pretty exciting to see what your predicted cost savings is versus what the actual savings is, as Excel, in our case here locally, has been increasing their rates quite substantially lately. I'll talk about the commercial energy bill a little bit.
This is a breakdown of a typical monthly energy bill from Excel. What we do with this is we take those charges, such as energy charge, and fuel charge, and sales true up, and everybody goes, what's that? Well, Excel has a fixed load that they distribute across their customers, and since the amount of electricity they're selling to commercial customers has gone down in the last few years, you actually get a charge to accommodate those fixed costs. When you add it all up, what you find is those charges are about 10 to 15% in total higher than they were just a year ago. And again, that makes a difference in terms of what the value of every kilowatt hour of solar produced on your roof is.
Great.
Complicated, but pretty straightforward to do. We've got little templates and spits out the number that last year might have been about 8 cents and now is in many cases from 9 to 10 cents per kilowatt hour in terms of solar.
So now we're going to chat a little bit about the ownership models. I know that a lot of individuals think, well, we don't have, the million or so to come up for a solar project. So we wanted to show you the different ways that you can purchase or finance or utilize solar. So there's 3 different ways that we're going to talk about today. The first way is a cash purchase, right? So you're paying up front for the solar array. You own that array. Your business would capitalize on the tax credits, and then your payment term is you're paid in full. The second option here is PACE. PACE stands for Property Assessed Clean Energy, and that is a type of loan that you are able to receive from a couple different sources here in Minnesota, but that would help you to take the money and get the solar panels and solar array, and then you would pay back that loan on your property taxes each year. So it is a great way if you don't have the money, but you're still interested in doing a solar array, is to do a PACE loan.
Nice thing is under PACE financing, you can finance 100% of the amount of the capital budget. And you also have an opportunity if you do other renewable energy roof investment, that can be part of the PACE program as well. Administered through the state of Minnesota and has been done on hundreds of projects, and it's very straightforward. And actually we are strong advocates of it because it's a great program.
Absolutely. And then the last option, which is it's called PPA. It's a power purchase agreement. So in that ownership model, we would actually own the system and we would sell you back the energy at a specific rate per kilowatt hour. So instead of you having to get all of your energy and pay Excel, we try to come up with a rate that's less than what you're paying and utilizing solar. So you'd pay us back on a monthly basis based on how much energy is produced that you use. And those payment terms can be anywhere from 10 to 25 years.
What kind of savings does the PPA produce for the customer?
So it depends on the utility that you're in, but we try to provide a substantial amount of savings that would be less than what you're paying. And we're going to go talk about a couple different cash flows here.
Very good.
So do you want to touch on a little bit more of the benefits of PPAs?
I will. One of the benefits of New Energy Equity is because we are both an originator and a financier, we have the ability to do power purchase agreements and have a wealth of experience doing these. As Krisy mentioned, you are able to get the full amount of solar offsetting the power you're using in the building with no upfront capital commitment. Energy savings, that could exceed 10%, depends on the utility area that you're in and the rates you're paying. You have no ownership risk from the standpoint that the operation, maintenance, and monitoring of the system is done by the third-party owner. And in terms of your ability to receive solar renewable energy credits, carbon reduction, the PPA can be structured so that you can indeed meet your ESG goals and objectives in carbon reduction.
Thanks, Steve. So now we thought it would be fun to share with you a sample project and what the financials would look like with all three ownership models: buying it in cash, taking a PACE loan, as well as a PPA, a power purchase agreement. So this is just a sample design on a rooftop. We did try to max out the rooftop to utilize the max amount that Xcel Energy will allow you to do. And that is either 1 megawatt AC or 1.44 megawatts DC, or 120% of your energy usage. So we take a look at your rooftop, we take a look at your energy bills, and then we try to right size the perfect system based on your roof and your energy usage. So in this example, this rooftop would hold 2,672 solar panels. This was designed with 540 watt panels. It is estimated to produce just under 1.7 million kilowatt hours each year. If you're purchasing this size system in cash, the full payback would be 7 years. That's when the system would be fully cash flow positive, and then the array will continue to produce for the next 25 plus years. If we're looking at the investment or the internal rate of return, it's just over 14%. A project of this size, depending on your location and the shape of your roof, this array would cost just a little over $3 million. And that's total project cost for equipment, labor, interconnection, everything like that. You're currently eligible for at least a 30% tax credit through the federal investment tax credit. And that is great news because that has increased over the past year and is supposed to remain at 30% for the next few upcoming years. And there's even a potential to get a little bit more tax credit, but we're still waiting on the specifications for that to be announced in Q1 of next year.
Mm-hmm.
So a system of this size in Xcel territory has the potential to save this company $5.24 million over the next 25 years. And the amount of carbon that it will offset is very substantial. So we're looking at over 2.5 million pounds of CO2 every single year. So when we throw out a number like $5.24 million, everybody is like, we need more details. How could it possibly save you that much money? So Steve and I thought it would be helpful if we were to show you a cash flow and how we actually predict and why we're proposing the $5.24 million in savings. So this cash flow here is for a cash purchase of this solar array. And I know it looks like a very complicated spreadsheet, but I think it's valuable to talk through it really quickly here, just to show you where the savings comes from. So the first column here is your expected electricity savings. So this is the amount of energy that instead of paying Xcel their rates, that you would be saving by producing your own energy on your rooftop array. The second column here is Xcel Energy's incentive. It's called the PV demand credit. And for all of those printers in Xcel territory, which I know many of the attendees are, they offer a credit for all of the energy that your solar array produces during their peak hours between 1 and 7 p.m. So this provides a substantial bill credit every single year and every single month for that matter. That is a production-based incentive. The third column here is operations and maintenance and what we would propose you setting aside for O&M years 11 through 25. I know our company really likes to do a 10-year operations and maintenance plan to ensure that the system is fully up and operating properly for the first decade until your solar array is paid off and doing its thing. The next column here you'll see is the investment tax credit. So the 30% savings is $925,000. The next column here is the solar array is eligible for maker's depreciation. So the depreciation of the system is eligible to be written off all within the first year, or it can be separated out if needed. But just between the tax credit and the depreciation, you've got half of the system paid off in year 1. And then we've got your upfront payment, your annual cash flow, and your cumulative cash flow, which shows being fully cash flow positive in year 8. And adding all of these lines up, it's $5.24 million in savings for this size solar array. Pretty cool.
A lot of money.
That is a lot of money. So I haven't seen any questions come in yet. So we're just going to keep going on to the next ownership model. And this one is with PACE financing. So with this ownership model, it is a loan taken out that gets paid back on your taxes every single year. You can use your ITC tax credit as a down payment for the loan, and then you can see how your payments would fall out over the next 10 years. And then the savings is a little bit less than the cash purchase due to the interest rate on the loan, but still $4.7 million in savings with no out-of-pocket funds. And making a substantial impact to your carbon reduction. I mean, that is something not to bat an eye at. That's pretty substantial.
Absolutely.
And then the last option is the power purchase agreement. So that is again another opportunity to have a solar array on your roof with no money out of pocket. And if you want to talk a little bit about this, that'd be great.
Sure. I think one of the things that's important to investors is that when they do enter into an agreement, that they not increase their operating expense for their electric bill. And so the PPA is structured with the idea that the annual cash flow would be positive, and then of course on a cumulative basis. so that there's a real material savings each and every year that enables you to actually reduce your operating expenses and take advantage of the solar array. You'll notice that the savings is significantly less than it would be with either the PACE loan finance purchase or a cash purchase. So there is a trade-off in this. At the same time, it's a significant and material savings without any out-of-pocket commitment in terms of investment.
So 3 great options for savings, 3 great options to help save the environment, and to use some renewable energy. And there's, everybody has a different preference. So this is really what we help to educate you on and guide you through to say what would be best for reaching your goals with the money you have budgeted for sustainable projects like this. So beyond the savings, right, marketing of your project is really exciting. And most of our clients really take advantage of our value-added marketing services that are included in the project. So making sure the media is aware of, having press releases to share, really showing, the effort and the steps you've taken to for your facility to become more sustainable and your business operation to, reduce your carbon footprint. We take drone footage and do videos, and then we generate a solar snapshot that you can use on social media. You can put in your ESG reports. You can include it in your lobby. So all of your employees, your community, your client, your investors can see the array, even if it's on the roof and might be hidden away from, daily sight. But just making sure that you're sharing your story and being able to show everybody, what you did to make a difference. And then we're always a big fan of good ribbon cutting events. Get the mayor there, get your community there, get your leadership team there, and do a fun ribbon cutting event to show off the array. I'll talk a little bit about the solar snapshot.
So this is an example of one of the productions that we put together for our clients in terms of helping them to market to their customers and to their clients the investment and commitment they've made to renewable energy and to reducing their carbon footprint. Typically, they will put this in their lobby and or digitally have this on their website. And it's probably one of the most fun parts of what we do is helping them to promote this within their industry.
Great. And I think really helping to, with this solar snapshot, we can change the stats to be whatever is most relatable. If it is the trees that we've preserved or the carbon reduction, or is it, showing how many average Minnesota homes it could power and how much coal we're saving. So I think that this is a really fun and customizable solar display. So we've gotten to that point in the presentation where we're ready to answer some questions. I know that we went through a lot from, how solar works to different financing options to, what your energy bill looks like. And now we want to open up the floor for questions. So feel free to add those into the chat so Steve and I can reply.
I'll kick one off for you, Krisy.
All right.
Start to finish, how long does a typical rooftop solar project take?
That's a great question. So the rooftop solar projects can take anywhere right now to be 12 to 14 months. 12 to 14 months is not necessarily the time that we're on the roof doing the install, but it's the amount of time it takes to go through the whole process. So we start by having a contract signed to do the project together. Then the next step after we do that is we need to do a structural analysis. We need to make sure that the rooftop that we're going to be putting the solar on is able to fully support our design. So we go through that with the structural engineer and make sure the system can fit. After that, and can be withheld, then we need to submit an interconnection agreement with the utility. So we need to make sure that the grid can withstand and take back any backfed energy into the grid. That's where we can take longer than we'd like. The utility can be slow sometimes, they can be fast sometimes, but that process alone could be 6 weeks to 4. And after that, then we take, we're going to procure all of the equipment and fully update the design. Then we'll get on the rooftop for a couple weeks and actually do the install. Then we'll have some testing and commissioning at the end. And then you'll have a fully energized system, hopefully within a year of the starting time.
We have a question from the audience. What information do you generally require in order to prepare a quotation for us? And typically what we need is 12 months worth of electric bills. Again, as Krisy mentioned, Excel's requirement is up to 120% of annual usage. So 12 months of electric bills allows us to see both total usage and to calculate a solar offset rate. For those who have structural drawings available, that would be wonderful. And typically we would make a site visit, look at the electrical switch gear, talk a little bit about point of interconnection and how we might distribute and route the solar array within the building. With that information, it's pretty straightforward to prepare a quotation based either on a cash purchase, PACE finance loan, or again, a PPA.
Perfect. Yep, the more information we can have up front for roofing detail and sizing of the array, it just makes it all better and easier down the road and more accurate, which is necessary.
One other comment I might add is, and especially with the passage recently passed Inflation Reduction Act, is solar over the last few years has continued to get less expensive with kind of the inflationary environment, supply chain logistics. What we've seen is the hardware costs alone are about 20% more expensive than they were a couple of years ago. Fortunately, with the increase in electric utility rates and the increase in the investment tax credit, it's actually a net positive in terms of cash flow and payback to do solar today. So from our perspective, it's as good a time as any to invest in renewable energy and get advantage of the carbon reduction potential as well.
If you have goals, carbon reduction goals, sustainability goals for, let's say you have ones that you're trying to hit by 2025, knowing the timeline that it takes to do the evaluation, to sign the contract, to actually go through and get a system installed. If you have 2025 goals that you're trying to hit, now is the perfect time to begin exploring if solar could help you to reach those goals.
I've loved hearing what you had to say today, Krisy and Steve. I think, considering these as options in the future are so important, especially when you're thinking about the next generation that you're hiring. They expect this. They expect that their employers are being sustainable and responsible. And so it's not only going to be beneficial for you in the long run in that sustainable way, but also in who you're looking to hire in the future, because your younger generations are expecting this from us. So I think this was great information that we got today. I don't believe that there are any other questions, but what I will say is that this recording will be available, and I'm sure what I will do with this recording is put your contact information there. So anybody that is looking to go solar will have something to share with them immediately to be able to reach out to you at New Energy Equity.
Wonderful. To Paul and to Chris and to all the participants today, appreciate the opportunity and definitely look forward to future discussions.
All
For
right.
sure. Yeah. Thank you so much.
Thanks,
Thank you,
everyone.
everyone, for attending. Bye-bye.
Thanks, everybody.
Bye.
Bye-bye.